There are some stories that feel too disturbing to be real, and yet they are documented, recorded, and impossible to ignore. This is one of them. In 1912, in a quiet town called Villisca, Iowa, something happened that would become one of the most haunting unsolved crimes in American history. 8 people in one house, gone in a single night. No witnesses, no screams, no clear explanation. But what makes this case truly terrifying is not just what happened, it's how it may have started. Because there is a theory, one that investigators couldn't ignore, that suggests the killer didn't break in at all. He was already inside, waiting, listening, watching, and perhaps only a few feet away as the family went to sleep, completely unaware that they were not alone. To understand how something like this could happen, you have to understand the place where it occurred. Villisca, in the early 1900s, was the kind of town where people trusted each other. Doors were often left unlocked. Neighbors knew each other by name. Crime was almost unheard of. The Moore family lived a simple life. They were well respected, active in their community, and deeply rooted in their daily routines. Their home was not unusual. It was not hidden. It was not isolated. It was just like every other house in town. Which is exactly what makes this story so disturbing. Because nothing about it suggested danger. That evening, everything seemed completely normal. The children attended a church event. They spent time with friends. They laughed. They talked. And when it was time to go home, they walked back together. 2 young girls joined them. They had been invited to stay the night. The house was full of voices, full of movement, full of life. No one felt unsafe. No one suspected anything. No one had any reason to believe that this would be their last night alive. As the night went on, the house slowly became quiet. Lights were turned off. Doors were closed. One by one, everyone went asleep. The entire house fell into silence. And that is when everything changed. Because while they were sleeping, someone else was awake, hidden, watching, waiting. There is a strong belief that the killer was already inside the house, possibly hiding in the attic. A dark space, a silent space, a place no one thought to check. From there, he could hear everything. Every step, every voice, every movement. He knew how many people were inside. He knew where they were. And most importantly, he knew when they were asleep. At some point in the night, something began to happen. Slowly, quietly, without any warning. The killer started to move through the house. There was no rush, no panic, only control. He moved carefully, deliberately, as if he had already planned every step. There were no signs of struggle, no evidence that anyone fought back, no signs that anyone tried to escape, which can only mean one thing. They never saw it coming. They were asleep, completely defenseless, and the killer used something that was already there. An axe, not brought from outside, not carried in, but taken from inside the house itself, which makes this even more disturbing, because it means he didn't need to bring anything. Everything he needed was already waiting for him. Room by room, the killer moved through the house, step by step, without hesitation, without noise, and without leaving behind anything that could explain what happened. This was not chaotic. This was not random. This was methodical, controlled, calculated, almost as if the killer knew exactly where each person was sleeping, almost as if he had seen it before, studied it, memorized it. The silence of that night is what confuses investigators the most. Because in a house with so many people, someone should have heard something. A sound, a movement, anything. But there was nothing. Only silence. From beginning to end. By the time the sun began to rise, everything was over. The house was quiet again, just like it had been before. From the outside, nothing seemed wrong. No broken windows. No open doors. No signs of forced entry. It looked like an ordinary morning. But something felt off. A neighbor noticed. There was no movement. No one coming outside. No sounds from inside the house. Eventually, someone decided to check. And what they found was something that no one in that town would ever forget. 8 people, all in the same house. Gone. Without a single witness. Without a single explanation. When investigators arrived at the scene, they expected to find answers. But instead, they found more questions. The deeper they looked, the less sense everything made. There were details, small things, that didn't fit. Curtains were carefully drawn, as if someone didn't want light coming in. Mirrors were covered, as if someone didn't want to be seen, or didn't want to see themselves. There were no signs of forced entry, no broken locks, no damage. Everything suggested that whoever did this was already inside before the night even began. And that changes everything, because it means this wasn't just a crime of opportunity. This was something planned, something prepared, something waiting in the dark. The investigation continued for weeks, then months, then years. Suspects were questioned. Stories were told. Theories were created. Some believed it was someone the family knew. Someone who had been inside that house before. Someone who understood their routine. Others believed it was a stranger. A traveler. A man passing through, looking for an opportunity. But there was a problem. None of these theories explained everything. Not the silence. Not the lack of struggle. Not the fact that no one woke up. And that is what made this case different. Because no matter how many explanations were created, none of them felt complete. Over time, the case slowly faded. Not because it was solved, but because there was nothing left to investigate. No new evidence. No clear suspect. No answers. Only theories. And questions that remained unanswered. The house itself became something else. Not just a home, but a place people talked about. A place people avoided. A place that felt different. Because something had happened there. Something that could not be explained. And even years later, people still wondered what really happened inside those walls. But maybe the most disturbing part of this story is not what happened that night. It's what might have happened before it. Because if the killer was already inside, that means he was there. While they were laughing, while they were talking, while they were getting ready for bed, completely unaware that they were not alone, that someone was above them, listening, waiting, watching. And that is what makes this case so terrifying. Not just the violence, not just the mystery, but the idea that someone could be so close, so silent, so hidden, and you would never even know. And maybe that is why this case still haunts people today. Because deep down, we all know it could happen anywhere.